She searched the entire inner temple side, end to end. Well, you see, Pearly gets pretty scared when she's alone. And there weren't that many places to look. She says that she even went back and forth several times. The inner temple site has two structures, the training hall and a spare prep room. And there's also a storage shack, I think. That's about it. There was a storage shack too? We never went to the storage shack? There's a storage shack! Is there no evidence there? Pearls was looking for other people, right? Would she have really examined the storage shack all that carefully? Well, if it was me, that would be the first place I would investigate. So that means it's possible that someone may have been hiding in the storage shack. There's a prep room and a storage shack that we just never... that was not part of our investigations. The next day when the bridge was finally fixed, she was in the spare prep room. Pearls didn't hear the sound of them working on the bridge? What do you mean? I was just wondering why she would stay in the prep room. If it was me, I'd at least go out and wait at the foot of the bridge. Oh, well, Pearly said she was sleeping at the time. She said she was so scared during the night that she couldn't sleep well and woke up a bunch of times. Poor little girl. All alone like that. Well, we know that she had at least one friend in the sacred cavern. Dahlia Hawthorne, who was busy battling with the trick lock. She couldn't let anyone see her, so she wouldn't have shown herself to Pearls. What happened after the bridge was finally fixed? That's when Mr. Godot arrived at the inner temple for the first time! So it was your first time on the inner temple side, Mr. Godot. That's funny. Am I imagining things, or did the defense ask me a question? Mr. Wright, please save your questions for the witness. What you heard from someone else is simply not admissible as testimony. Those are your words, Your Honor. Touché, Mr. Wright. Oh well. What do you have to say, Mr. Godot? Hot nights and even hotter coffee, that's what I always say. If it hadn't been for this case, I never would have visited there. A freezing cold temple in the mountains. I think I'll pass! So he had never visited Hatsukura Temple or the Inner Temple, huh? Ha! You want to say something, Trite? In any case, I have to find a crack in Godot's armor! While I cross-examine Maya, that is. Very well, please go on with your testimony. After fixing the bridge, the policeman came over to the inner temple side, right? Yes! Then Mr. Godot. He found Pearly first and cheered her right up. He cheered her up? What, with coffee? That's what Pearly said. She said he was a very nice older gentleman. Thank you for looking after my cousin, Mr. Godot. And here I was thinking you were nothing more than a coffee addict. Ha! Cut it out. You're making me blush. This guy is really beginning to get on my nerves. In more ways than one. He's an alright guy, Phoenix. Godot's alright. The truth is there aren't that many places to look on the inner temple side. The policemen were all busy going over the garden with fine-tooth combs. So I decided to carry out an investigation in my own way. Godot style! I'm the same way. I like to hand down verdicts in my own way, judge style! Maybe I should ask some questions, Phoenix style. Pearls cheering up. So you cheered the Pearls up. When I found that little girl, the first thing she asked was about her cousin, Maya Fey. Really? The bridge had burned down, and she was huddled up in that tiny shack with no heat. Even though she must have had a truly terrifying night out there. She asked about you before she said a thing about herself. Pearly! I noticed that you weren't anywhere on the inner temple side. But I couldn't find it in me to tell her that. So I gave her my last cup. You what? With milk and sugar to hide the bitterness of the harsh truth. What a sweet story. He had a thermos of coffee? Why doesn't that surprise me? There's only one thing of any importance here. Where was Godot when the murder was taking place? He must have already been at the inner temple when it happened. Otherwise, he couldn't have killed Elise Stoneham. Alright, let me ask the other one. You said that you conducted an investigation of your own. Did you find anything? It looks like my investigation went about as well as yours, Wright. After all, I did miss the bloody writing on the lantern. Well, I didn't miss it, so speak for yourself, Goggles. The only odd thing I discovered was the beauty in the training hall. Beauty? Misty Faye, naturally. Wait, the beauty in the training hall? Clad in her stunning Japanese garb surrounded by the hue and aroma of Western taste. Oh, you didn't have to say that, Godot. I've got you now. Western taste? Could he find a stranger way to describe gravy? So from there you headed for the prep room. Wait a sec, what did Godot say just now? I think I just found his proverbial weak spot. There's only one thing of any importance here. Alright. How do I press her? I mean, how do I present the evidence? That's got nothing to do with this. How would you... No, you can't see Misty Faye here. No, dude. Wait, how do I add that to the testimony? First time in the temple. It's just like I thought. Godot is lying! If his first visit to the inner temple really was after the incident, he shouldn't know about that piece of evidence. Alright, so I'm gonna present it there. No, come on. Alright, I'm gonna present it here. Don't know why it has to be here, but not the other one. Ah, it's all over the place. Mr. Godot, the first time you crossed Dusky Bridge and went into the inner temple was long before the murder took place. Why do you say that? Because he just made one fatal slip-up. The hanging scroll in the training hall. Hanging scroll? But... Mr. Godot is right. That scroll shows a picture of my mother. Maya, I know you know who it is, but here's something you didn't know. By the time the bridge had been repaired 2 days after the murder, the hanging scroll in the training hall looked like this! What's that wonderfully delicious smell? The morning after the crime, someone covered it with gravy. Gravy? But why gravy, Nick? Because gravy was much more than a condiment. Was much more than a condiment to the culprit. Well, Mr. Godot, if you really hadn't seen the hanging scroll until after the murder, you wouldn't have known. You wouldn't have had. You wouldn't have had any way of knowing that it was Misty Faye. Wait a minute, Nick. Yes? Take another look at the hanging scroll. Look at the top. There's a crest there. Ah, that. It's the mark of the master, correct? Exactly. So if you know the meaning of the mark, then you could guess that it was a picture of Misty Faye on there. No, it could be any master. It could be Amy. True, but Mr. Godot described what was underneath like this. Clad in her stunning Japanese garb, surrounded by the hue and aroma of Western taste. Oh. Yes, it's possible that he knew what the crest meant. However, he couldn't have known that she was wearing Japanese clothing. Mr. Godot, on the day of the murder, you were hiding at the inner temple long before the crime took place. Can I ask you just one little thing, Trite? What is it? This whole theory of yours, it all rests on a certain assumption. That I knew beforehand that a crime was going to be committed. That's right! Otherwise there's no reason for him to sneak onto the crime scene. Of course Mr. Godot knew about the plan. Huh? What did you say? Is it really possible that another person knew of that plan? Opened once before. This crime was actually planned over a year ago. Morgan Fay authored the plan for her daughter's future. And these instructions were hidden somewhere in Fay Manor for a year. However, by the time Little Pearls found these instructions, they had already been unsealed. Unsealed! Yes, the killer had read these instructions long before Pearls ever found them. That's how he knew the crime was to take place at the inner temple. And you still insist this crafty killer is me? You bet I do. But you just said that the instructions were hidden. That's right! Mr. Godot couldn't have known where the instructions were hidden. If he really wanted to know, he had one great chance to find out. Yes, and when was that? During a visit. A visit? Morgan Fay told her daughter Pearl about where the instructions were hidden. During one of her visits to the detention center. That would be the only time for someone to have learned where they were hidden. Eavesdropping on a visit at the detention center? Yes, it could be arranged if you were someone with easy access in and out of there. Like for example, a prosecutor such as Mr. Godot! I mean, now we're just speculating out of control. Mr. Godot, you are under fire again! This murder could not have been carried out without prior knowledge. And you! You were the only one that could have acquired this information before the murder. Humans are afraid of the dark. And yet, at the same time, we are fascinated and bewitched by it. Maybe that's why humans drink the darkness. That is coffee. What? Sorry for always asking, but what does that mean? It means there's a reason for everything. According to your theory, the killer in this case eavesdropped on a conversation during a jail visit where he learned of a hidden plan for a crime. After discovering the plans, he hid in the inner temple and waited for the crime to occur. Then he ultimately took a person's life. And he did all of that just to protect this witness. That's right. If you're accusing me of this crime, I have to ask you, why would I do this? This girl is nothing but a stranger to me. I've got no reason to go through that kind of trouble to protect her. I am what you see. I am certainly not the type to rescue the damsel in distress. The killer's behavior is certainly extreme, for a lack of better word. Even considering that the killer wanted to protect this witness's life, his behavior is still a little too unnatural. Yeah, He's a walking corpse. However, you had a good reason, didn't you, Mr. Godot? An unshakable reason that forced you to protect this witness at all costs. I knew it. You figured it out, haven't you, Nick? Maya. I guess you were doing your best to cover for Godot. For the same reason, huh? Okay, Trite, I'm all ears. Let's hear it. Is he your dad? Is he Maya's dad? No, right? He's just Mia's It's just Mia's boyfriend, right? It's very simple. Maya Fey is a lot more than just a stranger to you. What's this? There's one person who lies at the very center of this whole story. One person that ties you and Maya Fey together inextricably! There's a very good reason why Maya Fey's life is so precious to you. After all, she is Mia Fey's only sister. Mia Fey. You once worked alongside her. That was when you were a defense attorney. You know, we can always just summon Mia right now. Pearl? Wait, wasn't Mia standing next to me? We can just have Pearl summon Mia right at any point. Wait a second here. Mr. Godot is a defense attorney. Why do you think the trials in this game have been so easy? Because he's batting for the other team. With your honest, piercing intellect, you must have figured it out by now. The real name of this man who calls himself Godot. His real name is Diego Amando. Isn't that right? G-O-D-O. But there's no T. Yeah, but Godot. Godot there. The last time someone called me by that name was over 6 years ago. Diego Amando. That name rings a bell. It should, Your Honor. All of this is related to a single case. A case in which a convict named Terry Falls killed himself. Mia Fey's first time in court, the tragic outcome left a deep wound in her heart. She knew that behind it all was a heartless, scheming demoness in disguise. But in the end, Mia couldn't tear off that disguise. However, there was one man who reached out to help her. Diego Amando, a senior defense attorney at the office where Mia worked. It's my fault. It's my fault that Mr. Falls killed himself. Mia, you can't cry yet. The only time a lawyer can cry is when it's all over. I was moved by her. The way she put all her faith in her clients, that pure sweet heart of hers. That's why I could never forgive Dahlia Hawthorne. That's a long-ass grudge to hold. Especially since she was executed for a different crime later on, and you still held the grudge. Mia and I thoroughly investigated that fake kidnapping incident. Then one fateful day, Dahlia wanted to meet with me. It had been 6 months since the trial. We met in the courthouse cafeteria. Ah! I just remembered. 6 years ago, right here in this courthouse, you were poisoned! Even I didn't see it coming. Dahlia Hawthorne slipped some poison into my coffee. You should stop drinking those, by the way, or they killed you once. Some newspapers at the time called it a murder, but very little information about the case was released to the press. But you weren't dead at all! No official reports ever actually called it a murder. I was just in a deep, deep coma. I see. I don't think that's how cyanide works. I don't think cyanide puts you in a coma. I think cyanide just kills you. My body shut down and my life became nothing but a long, deep sleep. That woman's poison did a real number on my central nervous system. Well, maybe you got lucky. I lost my sight and all of my hair turned white due to the damage it caused. That's terrible! Apparently it was a miracle that I ever regained consciousness. Yeah, no, that doesn't happen in real life. You drink cyanide, you die. 5 years had passed since I drank that poison brew. Then one morning, my eyes flew open from the smell of a doctor's cup of coffee. 5 years? You were asleep for 5 years. And the worst possible news was waiting for me. Mia Fey was dead. From the very moment I opened my eyes, I had already lost everything I thought I had. The woman I loved had been murdered, and the woman I loathed had been sentenced to death. The woman you loathed! The woman who had spiked my scalding hot coffee, Dahlia Hawthorne! Ha! Good old Mia. She didn't let me down. She got her revenge before she checked out. In the end, there wasn't anyone waiting for me when I woke up. That's so sad. For someone like me, for someone who had slept away their best days, there were only 2 reasons left to live. And it was for those 2 reasons that I decided to become a prosecutor. If I may ask, what were your 2 reasons to live? My first was you, Wright. Huh? Me? If I hadn't drank that stupid poison, Mia Fey would never have died, much less the way she did. You were the only one who was there to protect her, but you let her die. It was all your fault. Come on, Godell, come on. You don't seriously believe that. You're just looking for someone to blame. It wasn't like that. I wanted to see for myself what kind of man you really were. So that's why you became a prosecutor. My other reason for living, she goes by the name of Mia Fey. Huh? You mean me? You were the only way I could make up for the sin of not saving Mia. 1 year ago, when the Curian Village incident was resolved, it was obvious that Morgan Fey was planning something. Whatever her evil plan was, I was determined to stop it. My role as a prosecutor put me in the perfect position to do something about her. That's how you overheard Pearl's visit with Morgan at the detention center. I knew that the time was drawing near. Since I knew the plan, I thought I could foil it. My goal was to outwit the plan. I thought if I could do that, I could keep that girl from being caught up in it. That makes sense. If Pearls had known that the actual purpose of the plan was to kill Maya, she never would have helped out. Finally, the day of the plan was drawing near. I contacted both of my accomplices. Accomplices! Iris of Hazakura Temple and Misty Fey. You knew where Misty Fey was the whole time? I especially needed the help of Iris. She was to take the fall in my backup. She was to take the fall in my backup plan in case we couldn't control Pearl Fey. She was to take the fall in your backup plan. Oh man, you messed up. Your plan didn't work at all. Holy sh... You completely screwed up. You blame Phoenix for getting Mia killed. You got Misty killed. Holy crap. That was your plan? But how did you contact my mother? She had been missing for almost 20 years. Officially, yes. What? What do you mean officially? You've heard about it, haven't you? About the strong ties between the main family and the government? Now that you mention it, Bikini did say something to that effect. She said that the Master of Curain had great authority. Even without her official position, Misty Face still wielded great influence. The police have been keeping an eye on her movements all this time. That's how I was able to contact her. Again, because of my position as a prosecutor. So my mother was cooperating with you. Don't ever forget, no matter how far away from you she was, she never stopped thinking about you. She was always? That's why I knew she would do anything to protect you. If you want to know how strong her resolve to protect you was, look at her staff. Her staff! The one with the sword in it. The day the plan was to be carried out arrived soon enough. We met for the first time at Hazakura Temple. That's when your mother showed me her special staff. I realized it then, just how far she was willing to go. She was ready to use that sword to protect you from Morgan Fei if necessary. Yes! Even if it meant paying the ultimate price. Mother! That night, the night of the crime, there was just one way to stop Morgan's evil plan. No, there were multiple ways. You could have told Pearls not to channel? That would have done it. No, she could have just told... Misty could have just immediately told Pearls, don't channel. Pearl was like such a huge fan of Elise Donham. She would have done anything for her. That's so bad. Misty could have just told Pearls, you know what, don't summon. Don't summon Dahlia. I know what you're here to do, just don't do it. And it would have been done. And everything would have been fixed. Come on. Just one way to stop Morgan's evil plan. Come on, Godot. You mean Pearls, don't you? We had to make sure she didn't channel Dahlia Hawthorne. Why didn't you just tell her not to channel Dahlia Hawthorne? I mean, first of all, Misty could have just said, hey little girl, I'm Misty Fei, don't channel Dahlia. And it would have been done! I'm the master, don't do it. Well, Pearl, what are you going to do tonight? just say it! What are you... Jesus. Well, if you like, you can come to my room. Perhaps we can read some books together. We thought we could prevent her from playing her part in Morgan's plan. But she never showed up. Yeah, no, why don't you like just pull her aside immediately? Don't wait until that night. Jesus Christ. She was worried and followed me to the inner temple. Yeah, you guys couldn't even outwit a 9-year-old girl, is what happened. You got outwitted by a 9-year-old girl. That was the thing we were most afraid of. And that's why Misty Fei had to do the channeling herself. What a debacle. You people are so bad. She channeled Dahlia Hawthorne into her own body, and she didn't chain herself up first? She didn't like lock herself in her room or something and then channel Dahlia Hawthorne? What a debacle! What do you mean? If she channeled the spirit first, then Pearls wouldn't be able to do it herself. As Master of Curain, Misty Fei's power was supreme, so that's how it went down. She channeled Dahlia Hawthorne so that Pearl Fei wouldn't be able to. Ah! Ah! What? Is this true? My role in the plan was to make sure no one was going to hurt Maya Fei. That's why I hid myself at the inner temple, just in case you needed to be saved from Dahlia Hawthorne. You guys are so bad. Godot! Anyway, that's all I'm going to admit to. Trite. Your debacle got Misty killed. Huh. There's no doubt about it, you're a great defense attorney. But you're going to have to do the rest yourself. Yeah, get out of here, fool.